Live from downtown Vancouver at the Vancouver Film School campus, it's time for EP Live. Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest in everything cool. We have got a very cool show for you today. We've got a documentarian in the house, couple of them that have worked on a very cool documentary about eSports in the local community here in Vancouver, but it pertains to everybody that's even the slightest bit interested in how eSports is blowing up all over the place. We know that eSports is huge, and these two filmmakers work together to kind of dive into the local scene, and it's terrific. I've watched it already, and I can't wait to talk with Melissa and Kial. But first, we have a rundown to get to, and we've got some good news in the rundown today. It's dedicated to Abraham M., who left a very sweet comment. He said, "You're a great reviewer, Vic. Whether it's games or movies, you really know how to illustrate your points in a down-to-earth manner." Thank you so much. That's very, very kind. That's why you get a rundown. All right, now Comic-Con doesn't kick off until tomorrow, but one big piece of news has come in a little bit early. Marvel is moving forward with a fourth Thor movie. Yeah! The Hollywood Reporter claims that Chris Hemsworth is set to return as the electrifying hero, which might come as a bit of a surprise given that his contract with Marvel recently finished with Avengers Endgame. I knew that was going to happen. The last film's director, Taika Waititi, will also be back, which means we can expect the new film to have the same comedic tone. The news comes as Waititi's character, other upcoming project, a live-action adaptation of Akira, has abruptly been put on hold. More details on the new Thor and other upcoming Marvel projects will likely be announced at the San Diego Comic-Con this weekend. How could Taika Waititi walk away from the MCU and Thor? I mean, Thor Ragnarok is such an incredible film. It's such a unique proposition within the context of all of these other huge Marvel movies, and it was so much an auteur piece, you know, a collaborative one, I think, with Chris Hemsworth saying, I want to, you know, try something new with this character, and Taika Waititi really understanding that and making something so wonderful. And Thor was, you know, outstanding in both Infinity War and in Endgame. And, you know, with some of the other big actors deciding to move on from their respective roles, I think a lot of responsibility kind of falls on Chris Hemsworth's shoulders now to continue, you know, carrying on the torch of the Avengers that we've known and loved for the last 10 years. This is a great pairing. I'm super excited. And honestly, I was really scratching my head trying to think, how the hell would Taika Waititi make a live-action Akira? I think that is going to be a hard project for any director out there. I'll be surprised if that gets made, actually. But if anybody can make it, it's a guy that made Thor Ragnarok. So maybe he'll go back to it. All right, now Thor isn't the only electrifying hero who's a king at the box office. The live-action Pokemon movie, Detective Pikachu, has just become the highest-grossing video game adaptation of all time. It's now earned $143 million in North America and $430 million worldwide, beating the previous record holder, 2016's Warcraft. Although, if you adjust for inflation, the number one video game adaptation is still the original Tomb Raider movie from 2001. No matter how you look at it, Detective Pikachu is a commercial hit, if not a critical hit, and shows that video game movies can be super effective with general audiences. A Pikachu sequel is already in development, and countless other video game movies like Uncharted, Sonic, and a Mario animated adventure movie are also in the works as well. I'm not surprised that Detective Pikachu did the big numbers. I mean, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company have been sort of seeding the popularity of Pokemon for 25 years, and they've been, you know, talking to generations of fans out there, and they talk to other fans, and that install base, that sort of group of people that might be even remotely interested in Pokemon has grown and grown and grown and grown, and they did a pretty damn good job with the movie. It got a little weird at the end, but it was Pokemon. I didn't quite know what the hell was going on. I didn't really watch the cartoons, so I was, what is happening? But I still had a smile on my face. One of the best things that they did with that film was the world building. I think they did a phenomenal job of creating a good sense of these characters and a good sense of the environments that these characters would exist in. And Ryan Reynolds was terrific. I don't know how they're going to work him back in. I don't want to spoil it, but at the end, it's weird. All right, now another beloved Nintendo mascot is going to be busting ghosts just in time for Halloween. Nintendo has announced that Luigi's Mansion 3 developed right here in Vancouver, will hit the Switch on October 31st. They had been coy about the release date, only saying that it would launch this fall. So releasing it on the last possible day before the end of Halloween season will give developer Next Level Games as much time as possible. Not only is this the first Luigi's Mansion for the Switch, but the first Luigi's Mansion game released on any console since the very first one hit the GameCube back in 2001. And I think in Blake's script there, he means any sort of home console that you connect to a television set because, of course, the 3DS Luigi's Mansion came out not that long ago, and it was made by Next Level, and it was terrific. But I'm really looking forward to this. I got some hands-on at E3, and I loved it. It's just... It feels like everything you see in the world you can interact with. It really does feel like some mature development has taken place and some really fantastic technology is integrated within the game, but it feels like a toy. It feels like, anything you want to try in any one of Luigi's different gadgets, any sort of mechanics that you want to play around with, the game will allow you to do that. And there's going to be some good puzzle solving and a great sense of humor. I'm really looking forward to Luigi's Mansion 3. In fact, from my perspective, it was either the game of the show at E3 or it was what's the one from Obsidian? Or Outer Worlds. The Outer Worlds? Not the Outer Wilds. Yes, that's what I was going to screw them both up. The Outer Worlds or Luigi's Mansion 3. Both incredible games. Cannot wait. Another fantastic game, at least from looking at it from the horizon, is Borderlands 3, and it's all about playing with your friends, but you won't be able to play with all of your friends, at least not right away. Gearbox Software has confirmed that cross-platform co-op will not be available when the game launches. The dev team says that they're still planning to do it eventually, making it possible for users on the PS4, Xbox One, and PC to play together, but it won't be coming until sometime after the game arrives. The good news is that regular old same platform co-op will be there right at the start, along with single player for anyone who wants to go it alone. Borderlands 3 arrives September 13th, which isn't that far away. It's coming very quickly. I think this is amazing. I think that the fact that there's some really big bullet points that keep being talked about and bandied about at press events and in press releases. A lot of people are shying away from loot boxes. They're poo-pooing the idea of microtransactions, although they're still a big part of the industry for sure. But they're also saying things like cross-platform play. And it's a very kumbaya kind of moment right now that's happening in the video game industry where the developers and the publishers are kind of working together for the betterment of the consumer's enjoyment, for the betterment of the future of the media, which I think is incredibly important. And I think, the minute we're able to play a co-op video game that's as addictive as Borderlands is across a wide spectrum of machines, that's pretty damn cool. You can call your buddy who has a PlayStation 4 and you've got the Xbox One and you can play with that person. That's so dope. I'm very, very into this, and good on you, video game industry, especially you, PlayStation, you holdouts. You waited until the very last moment. All of us were looking at you, and you said, "Oh, okay, we'll do it." So you're finally doing it, which we're very happy about. Okay, you guys, that's going to do it for the rundown. Let's take a look back at this day and everything cool. Welcome to This Day and Everything Cool for July 17th. On this day in 1955, the happiest place on Earth opened its doors for the first time. Disneyland opened to the public in Anaheim, California, becoming the first theme park built by the iconic movie studio. Walt Disney got the idea of opening up a theme park after receiving letters from fans who wanted to visit the Disney studios and production offices in Burbank, and he felt that creating a theme park would give them more to see and do than visiting a functioning film studio. The park took just over a year to construct and cost $17 million, which is just under $500 million in today's dollars. When it opened, it featured 20 different attractions inspired by Disney properties, with more than 28,000 people attending on the first day. Disneyland was such a success that the park quickly expanded, and Disney opened up a second park, Disney World, 16 years later. Disneyland has since become such an important part of Disney that it's arguably even more iconic than the films themselves, and several rides like Pirates of the Caribbean and Tomorrowland have even inspired films of their own. Today, there are no less than 25 Disney parks and resorts all over the world. All right, we've got a couple of great guests on the show today. We have a documentary that we're going to talk about. No, stay awake. Documentaries can be incredible, like this one. It's called Smash Forward, and Michelle Dex Guzman.
Melissa.
Oh, Melissa, sorry. I've got all the names happening right here. And Kial Natale.
That's right.
Yes. Worked on this documentary together, and I watched it today, and we're going to put the link for you to be able to watch it at home right now because it's on YouTube. But it was done in partnership with TELUS, and kudos to TELUS for getting behind this. Melissa, why don't you tell us what this movie is all about?
So Smash Forward is an exploration of the grassroots community here in Vancouver.
Yep.
Particularly with the FGC, so the fighting game community. So games like Tekken, Street Fighter, and in this doc we kind of covered Smash Bros. Just because Ultimate was just on the cusp of its release.
Yep.
So we wanted to see how much of a game changer that would really be for the community.
When did you guys decide that this was, because you could have gone, you approached TELUS with an idea to make a doc. You could have gone with any kind of concept, but when did you decide that it was going to be about eSports in Vancouver and the local sort of fighting game scene like that?
Well, we pivoted.
Oh, yeah?
The pitch was actually just going to be about Brendan, who's in the audience right now.
Hello, Brendan.
Yeah, and we wanted to sort of explore how he uses the FGC as as sort of a support network for his bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
But as we navigated more, we got deeper and deeper and deeper, and we were working with TELUS Story Hive, and our mentors were like, wait, we don't know what's going on. Can we step back a bit? And that's when we realized, like, hey, even though we think esports is huge,
Yes.
It hasn't completely taken off yet, and like for the mainstream, I suppose.
Well, I mean, that's been my career in a nutshell, right? I mean, we've been talking about video games for 25 years, but we sometimes speed so quickly because we know so much about it and we love it. But yeah, there is an element of kind of slowing down and bringing people in. And that's also what we see when we watch the doc as well. The industry, like the local community is trying to get more people engaged as well. Did you find that, Kyle?
Yeah, absolutely. As you were mentioning earlier, video games are somewhat obtuse, or they can be.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to have something that parents can understand for some
Yeah.
reason.
Do you think that Smash, because of its accessible characters and its kind of cutesy sheen, it can be incredibly vicious as well, but do you think that is one of these kind of crossover type of entertainments out there that can bring a lot of people just to watch?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even when we were meeting with these Smash players, they were saying that was the first thing. Smash is usually seen as a party game. Nintendo is usually the gateway to video games, so it really does have that big reach, not that the other titles don't have.
That's awesome. Were you both big followers of the esports scene in Vancouver, or was this kind of new territory for you?
Totally new for me.
Yeah?
But you want to speak to your experiences?
Well, for me, I've been involved with esports since 2011, and possibly before. Like, I've been watching Brood Wars since the early 2000s.
Right on.
And I probably only started getting involved in 2011, photographed the first WCS at BlizzCon, started following LCS, and then I just watched it get bigger and bigger. It's exponentially year by year.
Is it entertainment for you, or is it a potential career for you? I mean, how do you see esports for you personally?
I mean, I'm actually like a photojournalist, so I wanted it to be my career, but there's so many, after talking with Sean of Volcanic, like there's so many careers relating to games, relating to esports. Like I'm working for Truly Social Games right now, making competitive games, so I mean that's
there's a lot of ways in.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and that's very explicit and very clear in the doc. One of the things that you punch up in the doc is the International came to Vancouver, and there were thousands of Dota fans out there, and you've got great footage of all of that. Was that kind of an anchor point for you guys? Was that something that kind of drove the point home really clearly as you were putting this project together?
Well, it's kind of crazy because when we did the pitch, that was about last May or June.
Yeah.
And none of these huge things happened yet. So that the Aquilinis hadn't had their Overwatch team.
Right.
Yeah,
because Vancouver's got an Overwatch team. That's
yeah,
right. The
it's
international.
new.
I'm right.
And then, yeah, exactly. The international hadn't happened yet.
Yep.
And then the other one was the gaming stadium hadn't even announced.
Right.
So even just from over the course of 1 year, things have changed so
Yes.
quickly.
And we even shot that scene before we knew we won, so we knew it was important to cover.
That's incredible. The gaming stadium also, you guys got to premiere the movie there on Monday. How did it go over?
It was absolutely electric. I mean, everyone's so enthusiastic about games, and seeing themselves and their heroes on screen is just really euphoric.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about the doc is the intimacy that you achieve. I loved getting to know your father a little bit, Brendan. That was really rad. But you got to know the people, and I guess that must have been something you hoped for, and were able to achieve as you sort of infiltrated this community a little bit, huh?
Well, yeah. I mean, I totally came in as an outsider,
Yeah.
and I'm actually quite shy, so I was really surprised and very happy when they actually welcomed in like family. They actually want us to stay, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, people seem very open in the doc. It's not a super long documentary either. It's just the right amount of time, I find. But we do get a nice moment with all of the competitors that you're following, and we see them in ups and we see them in downs. But they feel like they really wanted to share with you. Did you feel like mission accomplished as you were putting the edits together?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, everyone is so forthcoming and wanting to share the community. And one of the more interesting things I've seen from the outreach is that people want to go to their community, support their locals after seeing our documentary.
And that's really why I wanted to put this on the show, because it is very Vancouver focused. You do a smart detour to Seattle, though, to kind of show the differences in the communities, but also how we're all linked and we're all the same. And every city is trying to kind of get their eSports scene off the ground and get more people to participate. And I'm sure the events are getting larger and larger. But you gave us a sense of that, and I feel like anybody that watches it should feel a couple of things. I think one of them is be inspired to be, if you've ever dreamt of being a filmmaker, do it, right? And if you want to participate in a local eSports thing, get out there, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like everyone involved, the gaming stadium, Vancouver Street Battle, they're so welcoming.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, we came in as outsiders and they were just like, yeah, come hang out, just see what this is all about, because that's all they kind of want.
That's awesome. Now, Kyle, you have production background.
That's right.
Kyle actually did the graphics for our Film Fury intro, so thank you for that.
That was so much fun.
That is super rad, and we get lots of comments on those visuals, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
But you also, you're an editor, and you've done a lot of visual effects and stuff like that before?
Yeah, worked for Burdell on a few DreamWorks shows. Right now I'm actually at Clay Entertainment working on some cool game trailers.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you did the post-production, and you also shot some of this, or quite a bit of the
Yes,
doc?
yeah. I was the cinematographer and as editor and visual effects artist.
I love the look of it. You guys have the camera in motion for big chunks of the whole documentary, and there's lots of almost kind of fisheye viewpoints, but then you get up close and personal. You've lit it really well. What did you use in terms of equipment?
2 DSLRs. We have a GH5 and a A7 III, Sony A7 III with gimbals.
Yeah. The very, very cinematic. Did you shoot everything in 4K?
We did.
Yeah. At 20
which was a nightmare, actually.
Yeah. You need some storage.
Yeah, there's not only storage, but just getting kind of like the data throughput into your computer for editing it.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
Yes. And cut on Final Cut Pro or
Premiere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish Final Cut Pro, but
Yeah.
those days are gone.
That's super cool. Now, you're a photographer by trade.
Yeah.
Had you ever directed any project, any filmed project like this before?
I've done mostly like sizzle reels and music videos. So Kyle and I also worked on Steampunk Digital Sizzle Reel. We did SIGGRAPH Business Symposium.
Okay, cool.
And with Adrian, us three are
Adrian Talens is in the audience, who did the music, which is also terrific.
It's
in this.
amazing.
And
It's amazing.
Adrian, actually, you were the one that told me that this was coming when you were on the show a little while ago. Yeah, you're a man of, you wear many hats, not just the cool hat you got on today.
He owns at least a few.
Yeah, so all three of us actually co-founded the Vancouver VR community together.
Yep.
And the music video for that was just something we wanted to do as a 1-year anniversary project. We hadn't done something fun, and I was like, you know what, I haven't directed anything since I was in high school, on mini DV or whatever it was, so let's see if it's changed, and it has.
Well, you guys, you come off all super pro in this project,
Thank you.
and what's the response been like from, outside of the community, from TELUS and from other people that have watched this and seeing into this, community for the first time?
our mentors said this is a world we know nothing about, and it's fascinating. And I think Brendan Pryde's dad sums it up in the end of the documentary. This is incredible. I had no idea it was like this.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you see yourselves maybe revisiting this area, or creating a larger documentary, or doing some traveling around to other cities? Is there you want to continue pursuing this as a story subject?
I probably will, just because I've been like I said, I've been involved in it for over 10 years.
Yeah.
We'll see if Kyle wants to. It's a pretty. I had no idea documentaries were so hard to make.
Yeah.
They're so stressful.
What's the most difficult thing? What's the most challenging thing? Just especially it was mostly the two of you doing all this stuff together, right? Mm-hmm. So is it lugging all the gear and setting it up and balancing for lights and yeah?
It's a mix of all of that. Like, we shot for 44 days.
Yeah.
And then we had a 20-minute time limit. There's a lot of math that can be done there. So lots of fine-tuning.
So you could have done a season of this
we actually could
show,
have.
pretty much, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you should see our bins all like with markers of like who said what at what second. It's insane.
Yeah. So was this something? This is fascinating, the way that you have to kind of strike this out. Was this something that you kind of pre-scripted once you did a log of what everybody said, and then you kind of sort of did a paper edit, and then you went in, or how did you work that?
Yeah, we went in with an idea, had to throw that completely out because obviously you get what you get.
Right.
And so we would log the footage, and we'd end up with these timelines, maybe an hour-long timeline per interview sometimes.
Right.
With markers annotating what said when.
Yeah.
Exported that to like a spreadsheet, and then try the paper edit from that. So quite a process.
Wild. How many different revisions did you have?
Oh God.
Actually, not that many. Well, I mean, it was iterative, but like I feel like we did nail the story pretty early on. We did have to cut out a whole section in the beginning, though.
Yeah.
We did have a what is Super Smash Brothers, but we wanted to go broader. What is eSports?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is eSports? What is it, man? Why should people care that don't care?
You're gonna quote
I
Martin?
just wanted to quote Martin.
Quote Martin.
I can just hear it. You quote him.
No, you
you.
wanted to. Okay, yeah. Esports is competitive gaming for prizes and for glory.
For prizes and for glory. That's the T-shirt. Right
I get the cadence right. He says it in a very nice way.
I know. Can't do it the way he does.
So where can people watch this? We're going to put it into the description, but go ahead and tell people what they should be looking for.
Yeah, so as of July 15th, it's available now on TELUS Optic Video on Demand and the Story Hive YouTube channel.
The Story Hive YouTube channel.
Yeah.
What's the title of the doc that everybody should be looking for?
Smash Forward.
Smash Forward.
It should be Smash Forward growing the Vancouver esports scene, but
yeah.
Tell us if you're watching. We got to do that.
Are you? Do you want to do more docs? Do you want to go off and do more docs, or do you want to take a break from that?
I'll probably take a break, but I think if I were to do a doc, it'd probably just be more capsule, just kind of the stuff I was doing before, but with more narrative behind it, because it was all sizzle reels, music videos, stuff that looks pretty, but it'd be nice to work on my narrative a little bit.
Well, I mean, the 20 minutes of the documentary flies by quickly, and it looks like one long music video. And I don't mean to disparage the storytelling, because it's really, really tight storytelling with great subject matter. I was very impressed.
Thanks.
Thank you
Let's
so
give
much.
it up for Kyle and Melissa and Smash Forward.
Thank you.
Make sure you guys all watch that.
And Adrian and Brendan.
And Adrian and Brendan, who takes us into his life, which is fantastic. All right, you guys, I've got a new reviews on the run for you. It's the Collection of Mana. Now, I've been playing all kinds of classic games recently, whether it was the Contra collection or the Castlevania collection or my growing library of Super Nintendo and Genesis cartridges. But a collection that has blown me away recently is the Collection of Mana. Now, this was released right around E3 time. I've been dabbling, I've been playing through these 3 grand adventures, and I finally played enough of them to be able to relay my thoughts on this experience. And I have to say that Square Enix and M2, who did the emulation for these titles, has done a phenomenal job. I have to say that I played this collection on the Switch, which is a perfect home for it. It's just an incredible way to appreciate these games, especially when you recognize that they all come from Nintendo platforms. Even going back to the original Seiken Densetsu, and I hope I pronounced that correctly, with Final Fantasy Adventure for the Game Boy. I never played this back in the day, and it was really fun to jump back in to this very dated experience, but still charming and still accessible. It's kind of a light version of Secret of Mana and Trials of Mana, which were the Super Nintendo games that are included on this collection. But the Game Boy game holds up. It was really charming. The different townsfolk that you meet, they're not vociferous. They're not loaded with lots of dialogue, mostly because of, it's a Game Boy title, so they had memory issues and storage issues, and they can't pack that cartridge with too much stuff. Plus, it was 1991 that this game came out, so it was ambitious for the platform and the scope, and you do see quite a bit of geography. You do battle some pretty cool bosses in this thing. The Game Boy game actually has the most amount of different ways that you can look at the game, which is kind of cool. They have the green and black sort of classic Game Boy filter. They've got a full black and white mode, and they also have a version that looks like if you were playing it on the Super Game Boy, where the colors are a bit weird, like all the water is bright red, kind of lava-like, but I don't know, I guess I wanted that color pop. I got entranced. I was really charmed by this title, and I definitely think it's one to dig into, probably first when you check out the Collection of Mana. Secret of Mana has been ported to lots of different machines over the years. I had this cartridge, I think I still have this cartridge that I bought from back in the day, and I remember really enjoying the game, but I wanted more of a Zelda type of experience, and it's not really that, but that doesn't diminish the impact of this incredible experience, this action RPG experience. The combat's a little bit finicky and a little bit not really user-friendly. You get used to it, but you're basically having to level up your attacks, and you don't want to just be pressing that button and swiping your weapons at the bad guys. You want to kind of wait for them to attack you and then you to hit them back at your full power, and you're going to have a lot more enjoyment. But that sort of changes up the scenario with the way that you go through this vast story. And you also collect AI buddies, or they can be human controlled, which can turn this into an incredible couch co-op experience as well. Secret of Mana is a very, very beautiful and very special experience, and it's been incredibly well represented here in this collection. But I think the big story is Trials of Mana, which is seeing a Western release for the very first time, and that just blows me away, because right from the get-go you recognize that this is arguably, it's got to be in the top 5 Super Nintendo games of all time. It is absolutely stunning. The visuals are incredible. You get a lot of different characters that you can play through the story as, and you can also augment them with team members, and you build a party of 3, and you keep growing and fighting all kinds of different bad guys and visiting beautiful towns and getting into incredible conversations. It doesn't hold your hand, this game, and there are lots of details that you can miss if you're not paying attention. And frankly, this is a game that would have benefited from being able to zip with a fast-forward function of some kind. But God, this is just a gorgeous experience. It's absolutely lush and beautiful, and I love the sort of environmental effects that they have in the snow and in the caverns. And when I was playing Trials of Mana, I couldn't help but think of Octopath Traveler, which feels like the DNA is there. Absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous game, and definitely a high watermark in terms of bringing a 16-bit title to the modern day. And honestly, it justifies the higher purchase price for this collection, because this is going to cost you a little bit more than either the Contra collection or the Castlevania collection and some of the other collections that are out there right now. I do wish that there was a little bit more, behind the scenes on the development. This is definitely something I have to bring up too. I forgot to save sometimes, and I would have to do huge sections of each of these 3 games over again because I didn't get in the habit of saving. Now, you can save at save points as per the original development of these titles, but you can also quick save by popping up the collection sort of overview menu. And don't forget to save. That is definitely my feedback across all of these 3 titles, because you have long times between the in-game checkpoints, and you do a lot of conversing with different people. I wish there was a little bit more in terms of being able to customize the look of the experience, like different kinds of frames, and being able to add scan lines and different filters or something to the experience to just play with it a little bit. You don't get lots of different visual customization options, but what you do get are 3 adventures that are absolutely worth your time every single second. It's a remarkable gift, And that's really what this collection is. It's a real gift to any fans of the 16-bit days for sure, but people that just appreciate, the roots of where modern JRPGs and modern role-playing gaming has come from. But you know what? I would say that these, because they're action RPGs, all of them, the Game Boy game and the 2 Super Nintendo games, they're action RPGs. They're incredibly accessible. I would recommend these titles to anybody, and anyone that's even remotely interested in digging into the past. If you are a gamer out there that just has a real aversion to playing any classic stuff, I don't know if these are going to convert you, but I can't think of anybody else having a bad time with these titles. Hours of enjoyment in every single one of them, but Trials of Mana is definitely the standout. I'm going to give Collection of Mana a 9.5 out of 10. That Mana collection is just priceless. It is so much freaking fun. I really can't stress enough how important it is for publishers to release some of their classic content. Hey, you know what? Since we had Smash Forward on the show today, and we've got a professional Smash player here, this is Pryde.
I wouldn't say professional, but
What? Well, you are. You're in the scene. You play.
Yes,
You compete.
for
Professionally-ish. Have you won some money, some tournaments?
Yeah, I have. And
Yeah?
I've been competing in Smash Brothers, I guess, since like Melee ever came out. So I've
Awesome.
been competing for like 6 years. So I knew it, but I mainly.
So you're a
cast.
pro.
Yeah.
Jamie has never played before, so this will be this is going to be a good match. So we're going to be playing some Smash, but while these guys are getting set up and getting ready to go, we've got a buried treasure to take a look at.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Okay. All right, cool. Today's buried treasure suggestion comes from Jess Graham613 on Twitter, who says that we should talk about Bushido Blade, which came out in 1997 for the original PlayStation. This game brings me back, man. It was the antithesis to a lot of the more over-the-top fighting experiences, the weapon-based fighting experiences like Samurai Showdown or Battle Arena Toshinden, even Weapon Lord back in the day. Some of these are buried treasures as well. But Bushido Blade was much more about focused and realistic combat, where if you got hit once, it was likely that you were dead. Because these weapons that you play with, they're incredibly violent and sharp and destructive, and they'll kill you. You can wound somebody, but it's kind of tricky to wound somebody. If you get a hit in there, usually they crumple and they fall. You only have 6 characters, and there aren't tons and tons of weapons at all, but you can explore the environments a little bit, which look incredibly crude now. But in their day, they were pretty revolutionary, and the animation was really, really slick. But the thing that really makes Bushido Blade such a special experience is that it adheres to, a code of honor, a sense of reality and fighting with grace and with respect for your opponent. It was incredibly tactile, and it was one of those games where the fights that you would have with a friend would be fast, they'd be over quickly, but they were incredibly tense, and it was one of those, okay, one more time, let's do this again. A very, very cool game to experience, and I think one that's ripe to kind of revisit with modern technology. I don't know if it has to be called Bushido Blade, but this idea of having super quick battles with incredibly deadly weapons, maybe the Ghost of Tsushima game that Sucker Punch is working on for the PlayStation 4, maybe PlayStation 5 at this point. Maybe that's going to hint to this style of gameplay. But if you've never checked out Bushido Blade and you have a working PlayStation device that will play PlayStation 1 titles, go and check this out because it's absolutely a buried treasure. Okay, you guys know the drill. It's Let's Play and Chat. Thank you to everybody that has joined us in the live stream. Thank you all for coming out and being a part of the live event space here at 390 West Hastings, the VFS Cafe in downtown Vancouver. And thank you, Pryde, and thank you, Jamie, for showing us how to play Smash.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to turn Jamie from someone who's never played
From a novice to a pro.
into a pro live on the show today, which is going to be incredible.
Yeah, we're just messing around here for a little bit.
Your
first.
earnings will go way up. Way up.
Thank you.
All right, so it's Let's Play and Chat. If you've got any comments or questions, help me out.
That's okay. No worries.
With some all caps, so I can read some of the comments and questions in there. I saw one of them back there that was all caps. Hold on, somebody was playing by the rules.
Come on, Chat.
VR Grid says, I want my mana review. You got your mana review. Incredible game. And then somebody, I think it was Olaf Christensen, one of my favorite characters from Frozen. Is that right?
Nope.
Olaf is
no,
yes,
it's
that
two
is
characters, right? Yeah, right. It's 2 characters. Said that I say every game is perfect on the Switch.
Go ahead and touch that
And I
red-
kind of do.
red
The
ball.
Switch, man. Like it's
Oh,
it's
yeah?
always
Yeah.
it's always with you once you pick up one of these things.
check
Have you
this
guys
out.
seen Smash?
Oh my God,
It's insane.
this is nuts.
It's such a beautiful game. Now, Pryde was making fun of me a little bit that I haven't unlocked every single character. I have not.
That's okay. It
Yeah.
takes a lot of time.
It takes forever.
Did you see you obviously saw the documentary, of course. Did you see
Yeah.
the scene where I said I found out how to unlock characters? and
Yes.
it's-
Because the
happened-
game had just launched when
Yes.
you guys were shooting all that
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
There
so
is-
you've been playing since Melee. How does this match up to your memories of Smash?
It actually, just like in its namesake and Ultimate, it's a culmination of sort of all of them.
Yeah.
So all of the skills and traits I got from playing Super Smash Bros. Melee, Brawl, and Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U, it all comes into here, into play.
Can you unlock all the characters for me, please?
I can actually do that right
Okay.
now. I can actually do that right now by putting my Switch in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we're gonna get Snake first, though.
Okay, get Snake, please. Thank you. Has there been a character announced like through the DLC? Like Joker's in there now, but
Yeah.
was there some? Were you freaking out about
Cloud.
Banjo-Kazooie Cloud?
Cloud.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
the character I play in it competitively. That's the character that I freaked out about the most.
Awesome.
There's a lot of reasons why I love Final Fantasy VII a lot. I used to play Dissidia a lot with my brother. So when I saw him, I was super excited, and then I ended up using it. And it became one of the better Clouds in Vancouver, so that was really nice too.
That's awesome. Honorable 11, I forgot to mention a lot of stuff in that Secret of Mana, collection review, because there's 3 massive games in there, and I was trying to remember story bits, and I was like, I'm just going to try to top level it. But yeah, all 3 games are terrific.
There. So I unlocked
Good
Snake
comment,
first.
though, my friend.
Sweet.
So he's possible to use. And he's
Been
really
a while
cool.
since I've seen a Let's Play in chat. Welcome back, Nintendo
So
Boy
pick any-
17.
this is for fun. So pick any 2 stages.
We have
So you wanna do
been
2 rounds.
working them in the last few
Okay,
days.
good idea.
Snake joins
Thanks,
the
man.
battle. That's awesome. I'm still disappointed in Konami for releasing foreign games on the TurboGrafx 16 Mini without translating them. I was so excited, and now I feel deflated. This is from Geek Hero of Comics and Consoles. Yeah, I
Oh,
think
this one's fun. So,
I think it's a little kind of sharky for them to
This
be
character's very
releasing
simple to
2
use.
versions of the same type of
Oh, this is a
game,
big
and
battlefield. It's huge.
they should do the translation. Especially if they're going through all the effort. And they've got a year, almost a year, 8 months. They've got a long time before they have to put this thing out there.
So
Of
if you
course,
go
some of the
ahead and
games are
push A
pretty
up to that
massive,
item,
though.
you can grab it.
But you're right; they should be. They should all be translated. Vic, I want to come to
that's
Canada and come to the show to see you, but I'm scared I'll get lost in Vancouver. Jeff Meacham, you won't get lost in Vancouver. It's a fairly small, tight city. You'll be able to get around easily. Just come and stay downtown. You'll see the whole thing and have a great time. Where are you from, Jeff Meacham? Come and visit us.
I'll make sure he gets here.
Adrian
go
Leon
down,
wants
push B
everybody to
right
know that he has unlocked all the
button right on
characters
my
in
right.
Super Smash Bros.
Just put by
Ultimate.
itself. No.
Sorry, that's the
push
A
B.
button.
Push B right now.
Yes,
Oh,
you're getting
yeah,
applause,
High
Adrian.
five, man.
I think at least the Japanese games have much of much of a language barrier, to my knowledge. I just wish we got Splatterhouse.
No, that's really far.
Blabler with the good, insightful comments about what is missing in the TurboGrafx Mini. I think you know what you got to get on Twitter and just add Konami with all of your requests, and the more that they hear that stuff, the more time and the more effort they will put into tailoring this machine to be all that it can be. But I know that there is a lot of
Push B.
concern,
Push B.
excitement as
Just
well,
B by itself.
and founded excitement. I think it is
Now you're
pretty
huge.
cool that
Oh,
we're getting all
you
these
missed.
classic things. You know me, I'm all about these classic games right now. I'm like a lot of people in the video game biz right now. We're sort of in retro nirvana. It's a very cool moment for us to be appreciating all
This is
these
from
classic
Earthbound.
games.
You ever play that game?
Question,
No, I
Vic.
missed out.
This is from Nintendo Boy 17. You and or any other EPN members reviewed StarCraft 2 and its expansions. Been playing that recently now on Heart of the Swarm.
Man, you're
we reviewed StarCraft 2 when it came out. So when was that? That was a long time ago. That and was with Tommy. Yeah, that was a long time ago. But we did review it, and we thought it was cool. Vic, you put a lot into this, you and the crew. Much appreciated, man. All your works. Thanks for the years of service in the gaming community. DW Rock. Thank you, man. That's very
Let's pick
nice.
some fun ones. This one is really good.
KFXG
This
Vic
one?
just came, got back from a week in
really
Vancouver, and it's
interactive, so
actually
stuff
really
happens
easy
all
to
the
get
time.
around
It's
in.
really fun, yeah.
Google Maps is a big help too. You get around just fine. Yeah, it's a pretty small city. It's kind of San Francisco-like. If you've ever been to San Francisco, it's even
How do you
smaller than
pick
San
for me?
Francisco. It's a walking city.
Random.
Yeah,
random
and I mean, if you stay on the outskirts, you can SkyTrain in. And what am I, the tourism board of Vancouver? Just get your ass out here. It's fun.
Google Maps.
Come in August. The rain stops for a few minutes.
Oh my God, I come with a bike.
Vancouver in August, right?
You
That's
do.
why we all live here.
You can even
yes?
eat your bike if you
yes.
push B on it.
Is there a game you thought was not a
Hey, oh
gem,
my
but
God,
you
I
played
just
it
ate
again
anything.
and is your
You can
fave? Ooh, Kraken Pines with the complicated question. I've apologized for my hot take on SSX3 a number of times over the years, but that was the game that I reviewed it and I gave it a 7.5. I was like, oh, it's just more SSX, and then I could not put it down. It was a complete obsession. I had to play the hell out of that game. But yeah, that happens every once in a while. I think the Deadpool game, which was not very good, but I couldn't stop playing it because it was so insane.
Guilty
and
pleasure.
yeah, it's, sometimes these things just get into your skin and you just can't put them away. And then I got a good comment actually in the comment section of one of our vids today about revisiting games like Destiny and
have a
some of these
banana
other
gun.
long tail
This is really
titles
dangerous.
that they keep updating new stuff, like going back and re-reviewing them. And that, I think, is a
hit that,
pretty
it'll
pertinent part of games coverage now in 2019, because these games are meant to be played forever, but also a lot of these classic games are being repackaged and re-put out there, and it's fun to re-review those as well.
You dodged a lot. Sweet. Ooh, nice.
So yeah, there are always going to be games that
B on. If you push B right in front of
I
me.
will think about and say, oh
by
man, I
itself.
was maybe a little too
just
snap
don't move.
in my score or my judgment of a title. It's
Oh my God.
it's a little nebulous, this game reviewing, just movie reviewing in general. You doing all right, Jamie? Did you get him once?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Wow.
taking this
You
home,
think you
man.
don't really know what's going on at all?
I need
There's a lot of blinking, flashy lights over there.
Yeah.
And there's like 15 characters on the screen.
But it's working.
Yeah.
You know, he's turning me into a pro.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's
man.
awesome. So
People are
you'll
gonna call you now.
You quit your accounting job and you'll just join the Vancouver.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
I-
amazing.
I can be living proof of how good his coaching is.
Well, there you got a new career for you too, Brett.
I actually do Smash coaching. That's actually a thing I do.
You do? He does Smash coaching. That's incredible. All right,
give you my
question.
number after.
What do you think of Resident Evil 4 for Switch being released digitally only and initially, and months later they announced a physical release of 4, 5, and 6? Caveat, 4 is on the
And
cart
useless.
and 5 and 6 are digital codes.
Kong.
My comment is, Capcom, what the hell are you doing? Why are you making this a big part of video game news? You know, haven't you learned that people just want the physical? You know, that they love your titles that you keep re-releasing, and if you try to do this kind of sneaky
picked the
thing
Donkey
where
Kong
it's
one.
half digital and
Donkey
half
Kong
physical, it's just going to be a part of the news cycle out there. People are going to be pissed off. I don't know what the hell they're doing.
Wii Fit Trainer's real.
Yeah, that sucks. And I don't know how you fix that, because people downloaded 4 and they said, well, I guess it's only digital, and now they're going to get stuck buying the copies of 5 and 6 that they don't want, because they were not anywhere near as 4. So yeah, that's my thought. Get it right the first time, Capcom. Comment, Vic. I'm from Jackson, Ohio, and it's a really small town. Jeff
All of my
Meacham.
moves are yoga positions.
You'll be just fine up here in
I'm not
Canada,
joking.
and
No, I'm serious.
the nice thing is you can ask anybody
yeah,
on the
see,
street
yeah,
where
that
anything
one.
is. They might not tell you,
this
but
one?
they'll be nice about it, or they might not be able to tell you, but
I do push-ups?
they'll be polite.
Do a push-up.
Comment
if
from
you wait.
Blade Blur. Hey Vic, just let you know I am not
Wait,
doing
wait,
my
wait.
best, but the show has been
Yeah,
a
see?
glimmer of light
She
for
did
me
push-ups.
today.
See?
Thanks a lot for
Everything
everything
she
you
does.
do.
Everything she does.
Oh, Blade
This
Blur,
is
I
so
hope
good.
I hope you're doing
great.
okay, my friend. I hope everything is going all right, and you can see the light at the end of the tunnel for whatever you're going through. But we're all there with you, man.
Well, that
We
almost
all
broke
go
my
through
shield.
some dark stuff. But thank you for that comment. You're a very sweet man. KFXG question: what do you think about reboots that share the same name as the original game? Games like Need for Speed, Most Wanted, Grid, or Doom, for example. I find it gets a little confusing at times. It is a little confusing for sure. But I think like God of War is a great
I
example.
don't know what happened there. I actually have no idea.
I think there's a statement when these companies do that.
No
It's
amount
like
of coaching will tell me where
it's
that
an
came from.
acknowledgement that
Very good.
that
That's really
the
good.
past is powerful and that we can't forget some of the games that inspired this new creation. But this new creation deserves all of your attention. And these developers work their butts off to create something that lives up to these massive brands. You know, that's exactly what the team on Modern Warfare is trying to do. Whether or not they hit that, we don't know. But, It was a bit shocking to see God of War scrub all of the numbers and everything and just call itself God of War, but that game was incredible, and so was the initial God of War, And it's funny that they're not essentially remakes or reboots or a redo of the same kinds of content. They just kind of, I think what it is they want the spotlight, And sometimes it gets a little confusing when you keep adding the numerals after the games, and it gets a little diffusing, I think, of the quality of these franchises. If you have, I love the Final Fantasy games, but it's pretty tricky to try to explain the minutiae between Final Fantasy 12 and 13 and 15 and to somebody that's on the outside of it. And I'm not suggesting that Final Fantasy should start over and just call itself Final Fantasy again. But I think if you're not in that world, it's pretty hard to kind of know, all the intricacies and why it's not a sequel and why the characters don't carry over, but they keep adding the numbers to it. But that's just one example. I think more than anything, it's tough to sustain these franchises over time, and it's tough to find new ways to get the fans energized around titles, especially when they've put hundreds of millions of dollars into something like Modern Warfare or God of War. Question, Vic, have you ever found Japanese game imports in your retro game hunting? I was lucky and bought Jump Superstars and Naruto GNT3 locally.
I love those games.
Yeah, I've done some shopping when I've gone over to Japan and bought a few things. One of the things that I really dug, and I can't even remember what they were called, but Nintendo made some Game Boy Advance titles that were only released in Japan that had this really cool kind of minimalist packaging, and they were all like arcade games that somebody would have been playing on, in silent running. That old move. Nobody knows what the hell I'm talking about. I'm so old. But no, they were very retro, very old school type games, and I picked up all of them. They're about that big. But generally, I get enough of the stuff that's released in North America that I don't really say, okay, I've got to complete everything and go out there and get all of the Japanese titles as well. That being said, I did pick up, when the Game Boy Advance was, because it was launched in Japan first, I did pick up, I think, some of the launch titles that came out in Japanese. And I love the packaging that's in Japanese titles. I can't remember if Mario Kart was one of those, but I picked up a few of the launch Japanese Game Boy Advance titles, and I did pick that up, the Japanese GBA, at an import shop. I think it was Broadway Video in San Mateo when I was down there. And the other import story that I have is the N64. The first N64 that I bought was a Japanese import because it came out in Japan about 6 months before it came out in North America. And it came with Super Mario 64. And of course, it had all kinds of information in Japanese on the signs, and I couldn't read them. But what I did is I played Super Mario 64 on the drive back from Los Angeles, because we drove back in those days. We pile into a van and visit a bunch of developers and then come back. But the TVs didn't have any inputs for the RCA cable, so I was playing it on my black and white little camera view screen. So that's how I was introduced to Super Mario 64, which was still awesome, by the way. Vix, what was one of your old school game you'd love a physical copy of but don't have from D-Dub? I don't know, guy. I have a pretty big physical copy collection. I'm actually one of these people that is okay with a lot of digital releases because I have a massive PlayStation 1 library and a PlayStation 2 library. There is one classic game that I still can't believe we don't have. This is going to sound so absurd, but I'm a massive Robotron fan. Anybody know what Robotron is? It's an old 1980s arcade game. Eugene Jarvis invented it. It's one of the first dual-stick games where you could run in one direction and shoot in another direction. I wanted a good portable version of that with 2 thumbsticks ever since I think the Vita was announced, because that was really the first one that had 2 great thumbsticks, and it's like, okay, this is going to be it, the home for a classic, a perfect port of Robotron. That still has not happened. And now the Switch is out, and that's where I want Robotron to get ported to. But, you know, I've said this many times, Warner Brothers is squandering these amazing, the rights to all these amazing Midway games, because Midway, rest in peace, but Warner Brothers scooped up all of those things. Robotron's phenomenal, and I would love to have a portable version of it that played like the classic arcade game. So that's one classic game that I think, why forget about that one? It's awesome.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
I probably know the answer, but I'm interested in hearing it. Does the video game industry need more spotlights on it, or does it have enough? There's a lot of influencers on YouTube. There's E3. There's shows like this.
It needs more sort of focused spotlights. I feel like the industry, right, and you know, I say that because we used to have a little bit of that from a vantage point on television. There weren't that many other things that were out there, so that drove a lot of eyeballs, you know, that weren't necessarily looking around for video games to start watching video game content. And I don't know how much of that is happening right now. I think YouTube and Twitch serve fantastic purposes if you know exactly what you want to watch and what you want to kind of go down the rabbit hole of. But in terms of shotgun blasting out to a group of people and getting them to watch stuff together, that's not happening so much. So I still feel like, yeah, there's a lot of commentators, there's a lot of great video content being made around games, but there isn't a lot of and it's tough to even call anything mainstream anymore because every outlet is struggling for attention. Doesn't matter whether you're on TV or you're the New York Times or whatever. But there isn't that much sort of focused storytelling about the cultural value of video games. You know, I think that there is some mainstream coverage of the money and the budgets. I'll give you guys a great example. Last year I was in Toronto when Red Dead Redemption 2 came out, and that weekend it became the biggest cultural property that human beings had ever created in terms of amount of revenue earned in one weekend. And I was listening to the CBC radio when I was...
That includes movies?
Everything. That launch weekend, it had, I don't even know how many copies it had sold, but it was insane. It was many, many millions of dollars. And it hasn't gone on to sustain that same sales figures as Grand Theft Auto 5 did, but the launch of Red Dead Redemption 2 was phenomenal. I was listening to CBC Radio because of I was out there, and not a peep, not one word about Red Dead Redemption 2 hitting the store shelves. And I just think that's a perfect analogy of, or perfect representation of how video games get forgotten by a lot of people, and they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But I know part of the reason for that is every media outlet right now is kind of trying to keep the lights on and trying to figure out how all their people are employed, and they're chasing whatever Kanye West has to say or Donald Trump has to say, because that's what everybody's hyping about and talking about, or people want to find out if the Bachelor is going to sleep with the other Bachelor. I don't know what's happened, but yeah, it's a weird world. But that was a really big crystallizing moment for me. That particular game didn't get all the love. Okay, question from Olaf Christensen. Will there be any more AAA announcements for the PS4, or is that over? And do you think The Last of Us 2 will be the swan song that the original was for the PlayStation 3? I think we're still going to get some AAA games from external publishers coming to the PlayStation, and I wouldn't bet against Sony having one or two more sequels to stuff that they're releasing that will be cross-platform. Like the next Spider-Man game might be on PS4 and PS5. Be a pretty good business decision, I think, because of the install base of the PlayStation 4. Remember, the PS3 kind of, it wound down, but there was still life in that machine. There were still lots of games that came to it. I think we're still, even though we're going to get the PS5 and the new Xbox next year, I think there will be at least another year after that of pretty solid titles for the existing PS4 and Xbox One platforms. There's been too many of those machines sold. And likewise, when the Switch Advance or the Switch Pro gets announced, or whatever they're going to call it, the launch Switch will continue to be supported with that same software. It's not like they're going to turn that tap off. That install base is too big. Blade Blur, can you shoot me a message? You sure can, buddy. Absolutely. KFXG, is the PlayStation Vita still getting games released for it, or is it done now? They just shut down the, Blake just put this into the news not so long ago, they shut down all of the factories that were making cartridges, and I think one of the last games that squeaked in the door was Shakedown Hawaii from our local developer genius, Brian Provinciano. He loves the Vita, and he made a Vita version of that game, but I think that's one of the last ones. D-Dub, hey Vic, if you get a chance, you should check out the demo for Lethal League Blaze on Switch. It just came out. It's like a 2D fighter with with baseball.
It's Smash Brothers Baseball.
Smash Brothers Baseball.
It's really fun.
That's
it's like
awesome.
trying to keep a rally between like you and your friends of a baseball.
That's so
but it has
cool.
the frantic, chaotic frenzy that is Smash Brothers. It's really cool.
Right on. Endorsement from Pryde. Have you played it then?
I streamed the first one.
Yeah?
A lot. And it's really fun because it doesn't have the same like characters like Pikachu or Mario that have that allure, but the action that it provides is actually insane.
Who
That's
made
really
it?
Fun. I don't exactly know who made it, but I do know that the character designs and soundtrack are top notch.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Reptile. Team Reptile. Okay, yeah, I'll hunt that down. Thanks for the recommendation right there. Now, Adrian Leon wants to know if I have a review code for Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3.
Ooh.
No, I don't.
Really?
And I keep bugging people, but I do not have it yet. I don't know if Canada's getting squashed on some of the codes or something, but I haven't got a code yet, and I really want to start playing that game. Taz, question, will you hit Discord for buried treasure ideas? Yes, Taz, I will. I'll do that tomorrow. I need some more. I'm actually kind of at the bottom of the barrel with not that they weren't good suggestions, but I don't know what to talk about with every single suggestion that's out there. So I will hit Discord for some more ideas. If you have ideas for buried treasures, let us know in the comments or in the chat. Actually, put it in the comment in the archive of this, so I've got some permanent kind of way to find that. Question from Waffle Fries. Vic, are you a pinball guy? I've recently found myself drawn to them more than arcade cabinets and arcades. I like pinball, but I suck at it. I'm not good. But I plop quarters in all the time and watch my money get wasted very quickly, and then I go jump onto an Outrun machine or something.
Oh, I love Outrun.
But I do love video pinball games, especially the one from the Zen Pinball Group. Those games are amazing.
Oh, Zen Studios.
Yeah, the Zen Studios are so good. Josue.
Wait, how good was I?
Yeah.
I played Nathan Drake. I was pretty good at it. I actually played it a lot when it first came out because I thought, it could be a nice competitor to it, and fortunately it fell down, but I spent a lot of time playing that game.
He's talking about PlayStation All-Stars. Do you think Sony should have kept going with that?
I think they should have, but I think it was just like a development nightmare, and unfortunately they had a lot of crazy characters they wanted to put in, but then it didn't reach the sales numbers they wanted it to, so
yeah.
I think it's very hard to fight to get out of the shadows of this game.
It really is.
I think it's very difficult.
Yeah.
And I think Sony knows what their demographic is.
Sakurai-san is he's a genius.
Yes.
And he's also crazy.
He
does not stop.
He works really hard. He
Yeah.
actually was working once with an IV in his veins.
Yeah.
He did not stop, and I'm worried for him sometimes.
Don't work with an IV in your veins.
Oh, dear.
Okay? Can we all promise that to each other right now? None of us? Work does not matter that much. Okay? That's insane. Good questions there. I think we're going to do one more. You guys keep fighting. Go ahead.
Yep.
Yeah.
So now
Comment,
go ahead.
is it
gonna
weird
play
that the
right
guy
here.
next to you reminds me of Scott
I
the
know it's not
Waz?
his movie.
Scott
Yeah,
the
it's
Waz.
exactly the same.
I don't know. Who's Scott the Waz?
He's a YouTuber.
Scott the Waz is a YouTuber, yeah.
Okay.
Scott is really he grew he blew up really fast.
Okay.
Very that
So I should
YouTube
know who he
style
is,
of comedic video game journalism, that kind of thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep.
Yeah, you think?
He's very funny.
Oh, that's cool. Famous Seamus comment, is it... Oh, that's the comment. You got a comment?
Yeah,
Question?
question.
Yeah.
My favorite question.
Yeah.
What can we expect from EP this week?
Oh, that is a great question. Actually, that's going to be the final one, too. And it's a perfect segue because we have an amazing guest on Friday. At least from my vantage point, I'm very excited about
you
the
can do Hurricane
Poly Mega console that's
exactly
coming
the same
out.
way.
It is a retro console that also is modular, so you can add on an NES module, you can add on a Super Nintendo, a Genesis, Turbo Graphics, but the core system it costs about $300, but the core system plays all of the classic retro CD-based machines. So you can play PlayStation
That was an
1,
item.
Sega Dreamcast, Sega Saturn, Sega CD, a few others. It's very ambitious. It uses, I think, a mix of emulation and FGPA. I'm starting to learn that world a little bit. But I'm going to have the CEO and co-founder, Brian Barnell, I think, Brian Barnell on Friday. So that's going to be a very fun interview. If you are into retro gaming at all, if you're curious about Polymega, if you have a huge collection of classic disc-based games for consoles that you don't know how to hook up to your TV these days, you're going to want to watch our interview with the CEO of Polymega. All right, you guys, that's going to do it for our show today. Thank you, gentlemen.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for training Jamie.
Yeah, I think
now you are the master, and it'll be too difficult to fight against later on.
No
Thanks for
worries.
watching, Chad, everybody that's watching this live, everybody that's watching this on the archive, you all rock. Thank you, guys. Make sure when you are in Vancouver, come on down to 390 West Hastings and watch the show live. We'll see you on Friday. Until then, play forever.